Get to know your finances on the Money Wake Up Call. Now here's your host, Dwayne Ellis.
Good day, everyone. This is Dwayne Ellis from the Wealth Syndicate and the Money Wake Up Call. The Wealth Syndicate, of course, is a financial planning firm headquartered in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I want to thank everybody for clicking the button. And we're going to talk a little money and talk a little finance. We're going to talk about it a little different way today because I've always been a proponent. I've told clients and friends and whatever, it's always better to learn from another person's mistake. And since we're talking finances, we're talking financial mistakes. It's better to learn from somebody else than have to experience the mistake yourself. And, I have a lot of different conversations with a lot of different folks. And I had a conversation with a gentleman. I was actually doing a webinar on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, which I was happy to do around finances. And I had a talk with a gentleman, and of course, not going to say who the gentleman was, but we were just having a conversation. I really wanted to share it with you all because I think in this conversation, it's going to kind of give you a different thought. It may not be for all of you because this gentleman was kind of in his mid to late 40s. So if you're not that, this might not make much sense to you, but I bet you, a lot of you are. And we were just having a kind of a sidebar conversation. And he was telling me, he made a pretty decent salary, which is great. But he liked to spend money. So he was telling me these things and he was like, Dwayne, hey, I'm putting certain things away and I'm doing certain things, but I just like to spend money. So whenever I get some money, I'm just going to spend it. And if I want something, I'm just going to get it. I'm not going to really worry about budgets or anything like that. I'm just going to get it. And I sat and I listened and, I've heard it before, but he was really, I think he wanted me to agree. And I've learned over the years, it's not really about me agreeing as a financial planning advisor. It's not really about me agreeing or disagreeing. It's really just kind of being a sounding board for folks and just giving them a different perspective. So I think, I'm going to give you the perspective that I gave him if you fall in this particular category, mid to late 40s, maybe even early 50s. You make a great wage. You are putting away in certain spots, but you just like to spend money. And the first thing that I told him or just gave him something to think about is, you got to think about your money in more of a long-term case. It's not just what you're doing right now, but what you're doing right now will affect you later. And I just so happen I have clients who are babies who don't even know my name yet. And my oldest client is 82. So the value of that is I get to see people at different stages. I have teenagers and early 20 clients in 30s and 40s, 50s. I have them at every age. So I get an opportunity to see through somebody else's experience what worked. And I'm able to share that information back to someone who may be a little younger or who haven't gotten to that stage yet. So the first thing I told him is that the average retirement age in the United States is 62. So stay with me. He's in his late 40s, early 50s. So for him to get to 62, I think his what we call time horizon to retirement is somewhere around 14 years or so. So whether he's going to do a formal retirement, whether it's going to be maybe a soft retirement, which is what we see now, where folks are kind of retiring, but they're starting their own business. They're still working. They don't want to sit at the house, but they're skilled. So they want to do something else, whatever that looks like. Most of my clients in that age bracket, if they haven't retired, they're certainly thinking about it. It's on the time horizon. So I had to let him know that first, The second thing, which he may not have thought about, that I want you all to think about, is after either that soft retirement or really it's a retirement where you're going to travel and spend time with family, friends, and loved ones, you've got to make your money last for approximately 20 years after that. So the money that you saved up during your what we call peak earning years, you've got to make that money last another 20 years. So if we're using the scenario that we're talking about from 62 to 82, your money's got to last. And, some people say, people say a lot of different things. Well, I'm going to get Social Security. Well, that's good. And you've earned it. You paid into the fund. So yes, get Social Security. But there's a lot of bells and whistles to Social Security. And Social Security really wasn't meant to be your only source of income. If it is your only source of income, then you have to work with what you have to work with. But for my young 40s and my mid 40s and even my late 40s, Social Security was not meant to be your sole source of income. So just keep that in mind. So the money that you all save now in your 40s and your 50s and late 50s and early 60s, you got to let that last till you're in your 80s. And I know that's a long-term thought, but you've got to think about it. And what happens during your 60s? We all have aunts and uncles and grandmothers, and we know what we can get a picture of what the 60s look like. There's certain risks that come up. Now, one risk that has come up that we all are experiencing is inflation risk. So the dollar that we spend now is not buying as much as it used to. So what's that going to be 20 years from now? What's that going to be 10 years from now? So it makes sense to be diligent about putting away now, understanding that inflation risk, and the number one risk probably when you get in your 60s is health risk. So I let him know that, when you're in your mid 60s, and you all see it here, today's 65-year-olds have a nearly 70% chance of requiring long-term care services or support. What does that mean? That means that something is going on in the body that Medicare won't pay for. And I've got to get some additional help to help out. If it's not yourself, it's your spouse, but I need some kind of help from a medical standpoint that there's not really any government assistance for. And that happens normally multiple times between that early 60s to early to mid 80s. That's not a one-time event normally. That's not what I see. What I normally see is episodes, and you all see it in your family as well. So I think the rhyme or reason, I think when I said all of these things to him, it didn't depress him, but it gave him a different thought about, he was saying, hey, I'll buy cars, I'll buy whatever clothes, whatever I want to buy at the spur of the moment. But I don't think he really looked at how long your money's got to last, and my money's has to last. But I think that when we finish talking, he had a different spot. So I'm going to give you 3 quick things to do if you're in that bracket, things that you already know. So we're really kind of reminders. There's 3 different ways in which we all have to be saving money. Number 1, save through your job and retirement account. Your job retirement account. If you have a 401k, if you have some kind of account at your job that you can save for. You're going to need that bucket of money along with other things to really have a comfortable, next stage of life during that retirement stage of life. So if you have a job retirement account, put some type of percentage in there. Number 2, auto save. So every month, some people like to do it every week, whatever that frequency is, something automatically has to be going from your checking account to some sort of savings account. Now, it could be, we could get really fancy and do a lot of different things with that, but just know that every month, something has to be coming out of your checking account and going into some sort of savings account for later. And then number 3, you got to keep a certain amount at the house. You know, the loose, not really the loose change, really the loose dollars, the loose $5. There's a lot of different systems, and I'm going to do webinars and talks on this and give you all of my secrets in terms of, how you can take some of that loose cash and kind of put it away, the change you get from the grocery store, the change you get from Target, that kind of thing, putting it away in the dollars and the cents and having that add up. There's a lot of different strategies you can use to actually do that. And I'm going to share those probably on webinars and seminars as opposed to social media. But those are the 3 things that you and I have to do now. Save through our job retirement, auto save through checking and savings account, and then have some savings in the house. And I mentioned on the clip as well, in a safe. So you don't want to have it just hanging around. Invest in a safe. You can get those at your Walmarts and your Targets of the world, so you can actually secure the money that you have in the house. So hopefully that was helpful to you. And I want you all to have a wonderful day. I'll just put my website up here a time or two. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to jump on my website, thewealthsyndicate.com, and send me a message, and we can talk about your situation specifically. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.